This is DMG and it's part 3 of the house build. Yes, we are building a house, cottage, farmhouse, building, something to that effect. On this channel right now, and before your eyes, we're going to paint it. Of course, it's still part of a speed build. So join me as I begin to... Well, alrighty then, I have white bombed this with white spray paint, and I'm going to use this wide brush that is super dirt cheap. I think I got like 4 or 5 of these for $2. And I'm just going to put in some brown acrylic paint. This is actually quite watery brown. You've probably seen me use it a lot before. And I've added more water to it to water it down. We're going to start on the shingles and push in underneath the shingles, go along each row, and then drag down from the top. Now the reason we're doing this is we want the actual brush texture to create the look of the shingles, the kind of wooden planky looks of the... Is planky a word? I don't know. Comment section below, is planky a word? Someone quickly Google it. Anyway, we're going to continue on. Now, when you begin to hit the wooden beams and things on this, be sure to go with the grain. Okay? It's much better when you go with the grain. And of course, you can continue that all over the entire piece. And don't worry if you hit the paneling in between. We're going to be working on that paneling this time for sure. I mean, this video is 14 minutes, 55 seconds, and 18 frames long. So we're going to do a whole bunch of different things on this to bring this up to some kind of code, some kind of standard. And again, on the other side, with that watered down brown paint, we can just jab the brush in underneath the shingles and pull down. You can do this sort of in any order you like. Now, the reason why we did white instead of black is because the brown and the other colors we're going to use will just look better with a white undercoat than they will with a black undercoat. So I'm going for a happy bright house, you know, happy little clouds, Bob Ross style, and we're not going for dark, dreary and drab fantasy setting. We're going to be fun fantasy setting. That is what this is all about. So again, just going over the entire piece, all the wooden pieces, going to go hit that with the brown, and then we're going to add in some yellow, just straight into that brown mixture, and begin to pull down along the shingles again. So we're not going to jab this underneath the shingles, we're just going to pull it down from the top across all of them. Again, we want the actual brush texture to be creating the lines down those shingles to give it a woodish looking effect. Is woodish a word? Comment section below! DMG's dictionary of choice, the comment section. Something just hit my wall. And again, we're just going to do on the other shingles, continue on this with this yellowy brown mixture. And we're going to continue that, of course, on with the rest of the wood bits and pieces as well. Get a thorough coating over there. Doesn't matter if there's some of the white showing through, that's not really going to be a problem. And we are going to start going over the paneling as well. So we're going for a... It's I don't even know what the word is. Again, we're going to have to consult the comment section, but it's like almost like a stucco-y Spanish-looking effect with these panels. You know, there was a medieval Spain at one point. It's not all in England. And of course, we're now going to continue that right around the entire piece, filling in all the panels and going over the wood. And the wood will just give that wood a little bit of a warmer tone. And again, you know, we're not trying to win any kind of golden demon painting awards here. This is about speed build. Get something you can slap onto the table before the players arrive. So now what we're going to do, grab some water, a little bottle and a syringe. This has not become a drug channel. This is going to be one of our new application tools. And I'm just going to... some of these bottles are really tough. So we're going to grab some ink, black and brown, but we're going to use brown first. And you're going to probably need some gloves because we're working with ink, and it'll stain your hands and you'll look like you've been doing weird things with brown ink all over your hands and, you know, body cavity search. But, you know, sorry, kids watching the channel, don't ask your parents what that means. All right. So we're going to get the little bottle and fill up, not fill it up, but I would say about a quarter of the way in the small little bottle, and add about the same amount of water. So 1 part ink, 1 part water. So it's going to be a little bit watered down. We're just going to seal the bottle and shake it up to mix it up a little bit. So you're going to need a bottle that can seal quite well because you don't want ink going everywhere. And that is precisely why I'm using this sort of makeshift shopping bag plastic top. There we go. That's the sort of consistency we're looking at. It's quite watered down. And we're going to begin to apply this at the top of all the wooden beams, slats, windows, door pieces, and around the top edges as well. So do that right along, and again, starting at the top, and then begin to pull down with a sponge. So the sponge we're going to be using as our little bit of an ink painting blotting tool. And again, from the top. And the reason being, because if you turn this down, it will begin to run down the wooden slats. And that's really what we want. So it'll get a little bit of coverage. And of course, going into the edges and the corners and the bottom sections of the... my brain fails me sometimes when it comes to what these things are called. The panels. They're not panels. There's some other word for them. Again, comment section! I rely on you heavily, because Googling is beyond me. Okay, and we're going to use the sponge then to manipulate the ink along the wood. Now you'll see that the wood grain is starting to shine through as the ink goes in, and, you know, again, you're getting a nice rich wooden look to everything, and you're getting a little bit of depth as well. So it looks dark when applied, but it will dry a lot lighter. And we're just, you know, going to throw things around, use a little bit of boots of speed here, just to speed up the old application of the ink across all the wooden bits and pieces. And again, with the sponge to push it out. And you can pull it, but dabbing is better. And we're going to begin to dab the panels in between the wooden slats as well. Again, you can continue this whole thing across the entire shingle as well. A lot of this is not super necessary. You don't really need to do on the shingles. It's up to you as in terms of look or what you want to achieve. I just like it, so that's why I'm doing it. Again, also pulling in the same direction, and you'll see that some of the streaks are starting to become more prominent when we do this with the ink. So that's one of the reasons why to do it, just to sort of enhance the streaky look. The wood panelishly planky look of the roof of this fantasy cottage house Spanish villa thing. Hardly a villa, but anyway, you know what I mean. And just continue this around with boots of speed just to speed up the whole process. Again, we're going to dab in on the panels, so we're getting a real good spatter effect there. And now we're going to move on to white paint. And now we're going to paint by dabbing the white paint on to get that sort of real stucco effect. And don't go right to the edges. Leave the edges as they are. I'm just super boots of speed here just to really bring this along and fill in those gaps. Go around the windows and make sure that you're getting a good coverage of that dabbed on stippled white paint. And you can go over it to get the effects that you want. So now, still using the white paint, I'm dry brushing all the planks so that the grain becomes even more prominent. So we've done one ink layer, now we're dry brushing on the white. So what this tends to do is give the wood a bit of an aged look. So it looks a lot drier, but we are going to go over it again. So we are going to do several different things, as I explained. And there you can see the grain really coming through from that dry brushing. A little bit extra. Okay, and now we go back to the ink. Again, the same mixture, the diluted 1-to-1 of ink and water, a small amount. So in terms of drops, it's probably like 30 drops of ink to 30 drops of water, if you really need a measurement. But you know this channel, measurement is not the things that we are made of. It's sort of suck it out of your thumb and just do it. So again, we're going to spot the ink over all the little window pieces and the doors and that sort of thing. And again, use the old sponge to sponge it on. You can really see that the texture of the wood is really beginning to show through, even more so now because we've done the dry brushing, and again we're applying the ink, and we're going to sponge it off, because what happens if you run your finger over it is it kind of makes a smudgy, smeary look, and the texture of the wood kind of gets lost. So continue to dab with the sponge, because that helps to keep the texture going. And we're going to go over that white that we've done as well. Just sponge on some of that ink. It gives you a very interesting texture look to that sort of stucco effect that we're looking at on those panels. Again, continuing on as we go around with the ink on the door here, and this again is just to bring out the texture of the lollipop sticks that we use to create all the sections of this house. Now, if you haven't seen the previous builds of these videos, there are two previous ones. There's obviously the internal structure. You can see me smearing there just to give you a demonstration of what smeared wood looks like. But the previous two builds we did, the first one we did the actual inner structure of the entire thing with cardboard, and then we did all the accoutrement, the shingles, and the wood, and all that sort of thing. And of course, this is the third video in the series. Now, I am, with the rest of that watered down ink solution, I'm just using a paintbrush to just go into the edges of the panels there, just going around the edges, and that gives it a nice little effect. We're going to do a little bit more, of course. We've still got time left in this video. In terms of total time of this build, the entire build went to about an hour 15-ish to maybe an hour 20 minutes. So it gives you a good idea of what happens. So I'm just using boot to speed to get to the black ink stage. So now black ink into the same pot once I've used it all with the paintbrush, and I'm just putting a little bit, so about half, so 1 part black ink to half a part water. Just use the syringe to put water into there, and I'm just going to run that over the underneath the shingles, and then pull down from the top with the sponge. And this gives a more of a sort of aged, rotten-ish look to it, and a bit of shadowing and that sort of thing. It's dark when it goes on. It's not so dark when it's dried, but an interesting effect all around. And again, with the shingles pulling down from the top, and you can continue this right across the entire piece. And there you can see what it's starting to look like. So that's it. Enjoy. And there we go. A beautiful little cottage farmhouse. Get your hand out of the way, DMG. Get your hand out of the way, man. So, that's it. Of course, if you'd like to support this channel, please support me by purchasing on my store, the DMG info/store. Of course, YouTube is now going to recommend a video for you to watch up here, and then there's the latest one that I've uploaded down there, and of course you can subscribe to this channel up here, and one of my other channels down in the corner. You know you want to stay in the DMG world, otherwise, get to the chopper. Like button.